I wish I could say this was the first time something like this happened. I wish I could say I didn't see it coming. But when it comes to my parents, especially my mom, things are never as they seem. My name's Matthew. I'm 31 years old, work as a software consultant, and I live about 2 hours away from where I grew up. Quiet neighborhood, single-story house, a place where lawns are cut like golf courses, and everyone waves to each other like they've known you forever, even when they don't. It's the kind of suburb that tricks you into thinking everything's picture perfect until you start to look a little closer. That's where my parents still live, or at least pretend to. I say pretend because even though they technically own the house, I've been the one covering their property taxes for the past 3 years. Not because they asked, because the county sent them a foreclosure notice and they shoved it under a stack of magazines like it would disappear. I found it by accident while I was over helping them move an old couch out of the garage. Oh, that? It's nothing, my dad had said, waving his hand like he was swatting away a fly. Just government junk mail. That was the first real clue. But like an idiot, I wanted to believe him. Because no matter how many times my parents downplayed something or made excuses, a part of me still clung to this blurry childhood image of them. Strong, dependable, invincible. That version of them died a long time ago. I just hadn't had the funeral yet. Growing up, I was the youngest of 3. My brother Tyler is 5 years older, and my sister Megan is 3 years older. Megan moved to Texas right after college and pretty much went no contact with everyone, including me. Tyler still lives close by, about 20 minutes from our parents, but he might as well live in a different state considering how often he shows up. He calls occasionally, sends holiday texts, but when it comes to actual help, money, time, effort, it's crickets. And yet, I'm the one they call. Always me. At first, I didn't mind. I make decent money. I don't have kids. And after a messy breakup last year, I've had more free time than I know what to do with. So when my mom called me out of the blue on a cold Tuesday afternoon last February, I picked up like always. I was on my lunch break, scrolling through Slack messages, half listening to someone on a Zoom call drone about server migration timelines. My phone buzzed, and her name popped up. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. The last time she called me during the day, it was to tell me their car had been repossessed. But I picked up anyway, like I always do. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. Matthew, sweetheart. I didn't know who else to call. That line alone should have triggered every alarm in my head, but I just sat back in my chair and waited. She went on to explain that their heat was going to be shut off, something about an overdue bill, some billing mix-up, how the company wouldn't wait any longer, how they were down to nothing. My dad had apparently been out of work for a few months, and she'd been trying to manage things the best she could, which is code for, we didn't pay a single utility bill all winter and hoped nobody would notice. I asked her how much they owed, and she started crying harder. I don't even want to tell you. It's so embarrassing, she whispered. We've never been this low before. We've cut everything we could. We canceled cable. We're eating soup every night. That last line caught me. Soup every night? Really? My mom is the kind of woman who used to lecture us for putting ketchup on hot dogs instead of mustard because presentation matters. I couldn't imagine her surviving on broth and crackers, let alone letting my dad do the same. Still, guilt hits you fast when it's your parents. Even if part of you suspects something's off, you don't want to be the kind of person who says no when someone's cold and begging for help. So I told her I'd take care of it. She resisted, of course. The whole performance. No, we couldn't ask you. You've done so much already. We just needed to vent. But I could hear it in her voice. She was already relieved. She knew I'd say yes. I asked her to forward me the latest bill, and she did within 5 minutes. It was over $700. Apparently, they hadn't paid since early November. I paid it that same day. No questions. I even threw in an extra 100 in case they needed groceries or something to get them through the week. She thanked me with an emotional voicemail, talking about how she didn't deserve a son like me, how I was a blessing from above. I wish I had saved that voicemail. Not for sentimental reasons, just to remind myself how good she is at pretending. 3 days later, I was sitting on my couch, eating reheated pizza, when I got a text from Mrs. Caldwell, my parents' next-door neighbor. We're not exactly close, but we exchanged numbers after I helped her set up her Wi-Fi router a few months back. She's one of those sweet older ladies who keeps tabs on everything happening in the neighborhood, partly out of concern, mostly out of boredom. The text said, "Hey Matthew, just thought you might want to see this. I hope everything's okay. Attached was a video. At first, I didn't even recognize the backyard. But then I saw the white trellis my dad built 2 summers ago, and the fake stone fountain they installed with a Home Depot gift card I gave them for Christmas. The video showed their backyard, decorated with string lights, linen-covered tables, people laughing, mingling. A man in a white chef's coat was flipping skewers over a grill, and a woman with a headset was guiding a 5-piece jazz band through sound check. I sat there, frozen, watching my parents, who were supposedly broke and freezing, laughing with guests, sipping wine, smiling like they hadn't just begged me for heating money 3 days ago. The video was less than a minute long, but I must have watched it 10 times. Every time I thought maybe I was misunderstanding something, a new detail would jump out. My dad was wearing a new button-down. My mom had her hair professionally styled. At one point, I even saw Tyler in the background, holding a plate piled high with food, laughing at something someone said. Tyler, who hadn't chipped in a cent to help them. Tyler, who never returned my calls when I told him they were struggling. I didn't say anything. Not at first. I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't even reply to Mrs. Caldwell's message. I just sat there for hours, phone in my hand, trying to figure out what I was supposed to feel. Angry? Hurt? Betrayed? All of it hit me at once, and then none of it did. It was like my brain refused to process it. So I didn't confront them. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of knowing they got under my skin. I just quietly decided that this was the last time. No more surprise bills. No more guilt-tripping voicemails. No more games. But then, almost exactly 1 week later, I got another text from my mom. This one said, "Hey honey, sorry to bother you. We're short on cash again. Can you spot us something to get through the month?" No details. No explanation. Just a casual request for more money, like she was asking to borrow a jacket. That's when I snapped. But I didn't show it. I didn't reply to her message right away. I stared at the text, that casual, "Can you spot us?" Like we were college roommates splitting pizza money. No context. No apology. No mention of the catered backyard party with a live band that she conveniently forgot to tell me about. My thumbs hovered over the screen for what felt like forever. I typed something. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. I wasn't ready. Not yet. I needed to think. Not react. That night, I poured myself a glass of bourbon, neat, no ice, and sat out on the back deck, letting the February air freeze the heat rising in my chest. My parents had always been difficult, but this felt personal. Like they didn't just lie to me, they played me. Put on a full-blown performance for sympathy, drained my bank account, and then toasted with their friends while I sat in a one-bedroom apartment thinking I'd just save them from freezing. And Tyler. Don't even get me started on Tyler. I debated calling him, but I already knew how it would go. "Yeah, Mom said you were helping out," he'd say, with that smug, detached tone he always used when he didn't want to get involved. "She told me not to worry. You've always been the responsible one." Responsible. That was his favorite word for me. Not generous. Not helpful. Responsible. Like I was the designated family accountant, pre-programmed to fix every mess they made. Because I wasn't married. Because I didn't have kids. Because I had a job that paid more than minimum wage. He used to joke about it at family dinners. "Matt's basically our backup savings account. Gotta keep him happy so he doesn't start charging interest." Funny how nobody laughed now. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up scrolling through my bank app, looking at every payment I'd sent them over the past 2 years. Rent help. Car repairs. Emergency, vet bills for a dog that mysteriously never went to the vet. The property taxes I covered without ever asking to be paid back. All of it added up to just under $12,000. Not counting the heat bill I paid last week. $12,000. I could have taken a vacation, paid off the last of my student loans, upgraded my car. But no, I gave it to them. Out of guilt, out of love, out of obligation. And what did I get in return? Nothing. Not even honesty. The next morning, I finally texted her back. "Send me the amount and a copy of the bill. I need to see what it's for." 2 hours passed. No response. Then, finally, a reply. "It's just a few things here and there. We're behind on some cards and the water bill. Not much, maybe $400 total. I can't find all the bills right now. It's been hectic." I asked again for documentation. She said they were all paper bills and probably buried under some stuff. Translation: there are no bills. This is a cash grab. That's when something in me changed. Up until that moment, some part of me still wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Still wanted to believe this was just a misunderstanding or poor money management, or maybe even a moment of desperation. But the way she avoided the question, the way she played dumb, the way she expected me to give without question, it hit me. This wasn't about help. It was about control. I didn't reply after that. I needed distance. Time to think. So I muted the family group chat, ignored my mom's 2 follow-up messages. Sweetheart, did you see my last text? And we really need to know if you can help this month or not. And focused on work for a few days. Then Friday came. And with it, the dinner invitation. Tyler sent the message this time. First one I'd gotten from him in weeks. Hey man, you around Saturday night? Mom and Dad are doing a little family dinner thing. Thought it'd be good for us all to catch up. I didn't respond right away. Just stared at the screen, wondering if this was some sort of trap. I hadn't even told Tyler about the video yet. Did he not know? Or was he in on it? Eventually I wrote, sure. What time? He said 6:30. Casual. Like nothing was weird. I didn't know what to expect. Part of me thought maybe this was their way of apologizing. Maybe they'd come clean. Say they made a mistake. Maybe this was my chance to set some boundaries face to face. But deep down, I think I knew better. When I pulled up to the house Saturday evening, everything looked normal. Too normal. Porch lights glowing. Warm kitchen smells wafting out the windows. Laughter inside. You'd never guess these people were supposedly struggling. I parked at the curb and took a moment to collect myself. Then I walked up the path, knocked once, and stepped inside. Maddie, my mom beamed, arms open. You made it. She hugged me like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't ghosted my request for proof or thrown a catered event days after begging for help. My dad was at the stove, stirring a pot of something that smelled expensive. Tyler was leaning against the counter, sipping a craft beer, and gave me a lazy nod. Hey bro, long time. Yeah, I said. Been a minute. Dinner was served within 10 minutes. Roast duck, asparagus with hollandaise, garlic mashed potatoes, and a bottle of wine I recognized from the top shelf at the local wine shop. $49.99 plus tax. I didn't eat much. I just listened and observed. They chatted about everything but money. My mom bragged about a new hairstylist she found. My dad talked about maybe picking up a classic car to restore once spring rolled around. Tyler joked about planning a trip to Mexico with his girlfriend. It was like I'd walked into someone else's life. Or a poorly scripted sitcom. I waited until dessert, some homemade tiramisu my mom swore was just something I threw together, before I finally spoke. So, I said, putting my fork down. How was the party last weekend? Everything stopped. Tyler glanced at me. My mom froze. My dad looked confused. What party? My mom asked too quickly. The one with the band. And the caterer. In the backyard. There was a long silence. Then she laughed. Oh, that. It wasn't a party, sweetheart. Just a little neighborhood thing. People brought their own food. Very low-key. Funny, I said. Looked like you hired staff. The chef, the sound guy, the decorations. My dad frowned. Where'd you hear that? I didn't hear. I saw. Mrs. Caldwell sent me a video. My mom's smile faltered, but only for a second. Honey, we didn't mean to keep that from you. It wasn't a big deal. Just a thank you thing for the neighbors. They've been so kind since your dad lost his job. And you paid for it, how? Another pause. She opened her mouth, then closed it. We used a little of the tax refund, she said. And some gift money we had from Christmas. Gift money. Right. I looked at Tyler. You were there too? He shrugged. Yeah. I didn't know they'd just asked you for help. I figured everything was fine. I wanted to believe him. But something in his tone, it felt off. Too casual. Like he didn't care either way. Was it fine? I asked. Because I paid your heat bill 3 days before that party. You didn't think to check in with me before celebrating with a live band. My dad sighed. Matthew, don't be dramatic. It was one night. We needed something to lift our spirits. I stood up. You used me. My mom blinked. What? You made me feel like you were desperate. Like you were freezing. Like you had nothing left. And then you threw a party and didn't even have the decency to tell me. And now you're asking for more. She stood too, her voice rising. You don't understand how hard it's been, Matthew. You don't have kids. You don't have a mortgage. You don't know what it's like to carry a family. You didn't carry anything, I said, my voice low but shaking. You handed it to me and then celebrated behind my back. Tyler stood up now too. All right. Let's all calm down. No, I said, turning to him. You don't get to play peacemaker. You've been MIA for months. You let me carry everything while you laughed in the backyard and drank free wine. "We didn't ask you to," Tyler snapped. "You offered. That's on you." I froze. That sentence, that tone, that dismissive shrug, it hit me like a slap. And in that moment, everything fell into place. The way they leaned on me for money, but never invited me to holidays. The way Tyler got passes while I got guilt-tripped. The way my mom called only when she needed something. The party. The lies. The casual ask for more money like I was their personal ATM. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was normal for them. This was how they saw me. And in that instant, I knew exactly what I had to do. But I didn't say it. Not yet. I just grabbed my coat, slid my keys from the hook, and said, "Don't text me again." And I walked out. I didn't cry when I got back to my apartment. I didn't scream. Didn't punch a wall. I didn't even sit down. I just stood in the kitchen with my keys still in hand, staring at the blank wall above the sink, my coat still clinging to my shoulders. The silence was deafening, like my whole life had just let out its last breath and left me standing in the wreckage. What do you do when the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally treat your kindness like a monthly subscription? I didn't know, so I stood there, still, alone. Eventually, I moved to the living room and sat on the floor with my back against the couch. No TV, no music, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing on the street outside. I didn't even check my phone. I didn't want to. I knew what I'd find. Messages from my mom asking me to be reasonable. Maybe one from Tyler pretending he hadn't said what he said. And I knew if I saw any of that too soon, I'd crumble. And I didn't want to give them that satisfaction. But the truth was, I was crumbling anyway. I called out sick from work the next day. Told my manager I had a stomach bug. She was kind about it. Said to take the time I needed. I don't think she realized I wasn't talking about a virus. I was talking about a hole. A yawning, gnawing, soul-deep hole that felt like it had opened up beneath me. I'd built my entire adult life around the idea that I was the good son, the responsible one, the one they could count on. And somewhere along the line, that became who I was. Not just to them, but to myself. Without that, who was I? The next few weeks passed in a fog. I still worked, still showered, still cooked. But it was like watching myself live from outside my own body. I went through the motions, but none of it felt real. I didn't talk to my parents. I didn't talk to Tyler. I didn't even reach out to Megan, though I thought about it more than once. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. Her leaving the family had always seemed harsh to me growing up, but now, it felt almost prophetic. Like she saw what I didn't. Maybe that's why she left. Maybe she just got tired of playing a game where the rules changed every time the wind blew. One night, about 3 weeks after the dinner, I found myself scrolling through old texts with my mom. Messages from birthdays. Random thinking of you notes. Pictures of our family dog. In the earlier ones, she used hearts. Emojis. Long sentences. Then, slowly, over the years, her tone shifted. Colder. Shorter. More transactional. "Can you help us with the rent this month? Your dad's car needs repairs. We're short. Hey, any chance you could cover the insurance again?" Reading them all in a row, it felt like watching a slow leak drain everything good out of our relationship. I hadn't even noticed the water rising until I was drowning in it. That night, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I opened a blank document. See, before the software job, before all of this, I used to write. Not code. Stories. Fiction. I even got a few short pieces published in small journals back in college. But after graduation, life got loud. Bills. Work. Family. And slowly, writing slipped through the cracks. But sitting there, in the dark, with the only light coming from my laptop screen, I started typing. I didn't write about my parents, not directly. I wrote about a man who gave too much, who wanted to be needed so badly, he let people carve pieces out of him until there was almost nothing left. I wrote until my fingers hurt, until the ache in my chest loosened just a little. And then I slept. For the first time in days, I really slept. The next morning, I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to be their safety net anymore. And I wasn't going to just get over it, either. I was going to build something for myself. Quietly. Deliberately. Brick by brick. It started small. I canceled the monthly auto transfer I'd set up to their bank account. That was scary. My thumb hovered over the screen for a full minute before I hit confirm. It felt like betrayal. But it was freedom. Then I made a list, something I hadn't done in years. A personal goal list. Just for me. Finish a short story. Submit it somewhere. Cook a real dinner at least 3x a week. Reconnect with one old friend. Go to the gym twice a week. Get a financial advisor. Learn how to say no without guilt. That last one stayed in bold for weeks. I started with the gym. Nothing fancy. Just a local place down the street with more mirrors than machines. I signed up for a trial membership and went twice that first week. It sucked. My legs burned. My arms felt like jelly. But for the first time in a while, the ache felt earned. Next, I started cooking. Not just heating up frozen meals. Cooking. I bought a cast iron skillet. Watched videos. Burned some chicken. Got better. I discovered I liked it. Chopping onions, flipping salmon, trying weird spice combos. It gave me a weird sense of control. Like maybe I couldn't fix everything, but I could at least master this one small thing. And then, I submitted the story. The one I wrote that night. I cleaned it up. Gave it a title. Sent it to a mid-size online magazine that still accepted unsolicited work. I didn't expect anything. Honestly, I did it just to prove I could follow through on something that wasn't about anyone else. 2 weeks later, I got an email. They wanted to publish it. I stared at the screen for 5 minutes before it sank in. I hadn't told anyone I submitted it. Not my coworkers. Not even the 2 friends I still texted occasionally. It was mine. Just mine. And now, someone else wanted to share it. I cried then. Not because of the story. Because for the first time in a long time, I felt like me again. Not the fixer. Not the provider. Not the punching bag. Just Matthew. The real one. After that, things snowballed. In a good way. I started writing regularly. Nothing too ambitious. Just short fiction. Character pieces. Observations about people in coffee shops or funny things I overheard in the grocery store. I posted a few anonymously online. Got some traction. One even got picked up by a small lit blog with a decent following. They called my voice refreshingly honest. That made me laugh. Honest? I'd spent years pretending I was okay. Pretending I didn't mind being used. And now, writing as myself, that honesty was suddenly valuable. I stopped checking for messages from my family. I muted the group chat permanently. I didn't block them yet, but I stopped replying. Stopped explaining myself. Stopped feeling guilty. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. And as I pulled away, something else strange happened. I started getting texts from Megan. At first, they were short. Casual. Hey, just checking in. How's life? Then, been thinking about you lately. Everything okay? Then finally, Tyler called me. Something about a fight at dinner. Want to talk? I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure I wanted to open that door. But after a few days, I called. We talked for almost 2 hours. Turns out, Megan had seen all of this coming. She left not because she was cold-hearted, but because she realized years ago that our parents had a pattern. Lean on the good kid until they bled them dry, then act like they were the victims when the help stopped. It was me before you, she said, her voice soft but steady. You just didn't know it. They used to ask me for rent money back when I was in college. I almost dropped out my junior year because I was covering their bills and my tuition at the same time. And when I said no, finally said no, they stopped talking to me. I didn't know what to say. It felt like someone had pulled the curtain back on a play I thought I knew by heart and showed me the strings. But you know what? She said. I'm proud of you. For walking away. For finding yourself. You deserve to have a life that's about you. We started talking more regularly after that. Not every day, but often enough to feel like we were building something new. Something real. By the time spring rolled around, I had 4 stories published, 10 more drafted, and a small but growing following online. I'd even started outlining a novel. I wasn't sure if it would go anywhere, but that wasn't the point. The point was, I was living. Not surviving. Not sacrificing. Living. And that's when the letter came. A plain envelope. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in blocky letters, and a postmark from my hometown. Inside was a typed letter. 2 pages. From my parents. It started polite. Then it turned emotional. Then it turned desperate. They were sorry for any misunderstanding. They'd never intended to hurt me. They missed their son. But most of all, they were in a tough spot again. Something about a new medical bill. Something about the house falling behind again. Something about needing just one more favor. And at the bottom, scrawled in my mom's handwriting. We know you've always been our rock, Matthew. Please don't abandon us now. We're your family. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding that letter. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just felt still. Because in that moment, I understood something they never would. Being family doesn't mean being a fool. And being a rock doesn't mean letting people climb on you until you're dust. I folded the letter, set it aside, and picked up my pen. When I say I planned this carefully, I mean every word, every silence, every step was deliberate. I didn't rush. I didn't let emotion cloud it. I gave myself time, not just to heal, but to sharpen. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to make peace. I was building a reckoning. The letter from my parents sat unopened on the kitchen counter for days after I read it. I didn't throw it away. I didn't respond. I didn't even move it. I wanted to see it every morning, every time I walked past it. Not as a reminder of their desperation, but as a symbol of my resolve. They'd call me their rock. That used to be a compliment. Now it felt like a leash. Please don't abandon us now. I think that line broke something in me for good. Because abandonment? That's what they did every time I asked for basic respect. Every time I set a boundary, they ignored it. Every time I tried to talk about how their actions hurt me, they brushed it off as being sensitive. They were never interested in a relationship unless I was opening my wallet or swallowing my pride. They thought the letter would pull me back in, guilt me into submission. But all it did was prove they hadn't changed. Not even a little. That's when I started planning. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to show them who I really was, who I'd become, and what it meant to lose someone like me. The first piece of the plan? Megan. We'd been talking almost weekly by then. Sometimes longer calls, sometimes short voice messages with jokes or old memories. Rebuilding trust takes time, but with her, it felt natural. She was the only one who never asked me for a thing. She didn't pretend to be perfect. She just showed up. That meant everything. So one night, while we were on a video call and I was eating one of my sad bachelor salads, I brought it up. I got a letter from them. She leaned back, eyes narrowing. Let me guess. Lots of "we miss you and we need you"? Basically, I said. They're behind again. Medical bills. Megan rolled her eyes. Medical bills, my foot. They said that exact same thing when I moved to Austin. Then I found out they were helping Tyler finance his second car. The sports one. I stared at her. Wait. The red Audi. Yup. I blinked. They told me Tyler bought that with a bonus. He didn't even have a job that year. Something cold settled in my chest. They lied to both of us. Played us against each other. That's what they do, she said. Divide and conquer. Not anymore, I said quietly. She paused, then leaned closer. What are you thinking? I told her everything. The plan. The bait. The long game. I expected hesitation. Worry. Maybe even disapproval. Instead, Megan grinned. Matt, she said. Let's burn the stage while they're still performing. And just like that, I had my first ally. Next was research. You'd be amazed how much financial information is available if you know where to look. Public records, tax filings, property liens, court notices. I wasn't trying to destroy them yet, but I wanted leverage. I needed to understand exactly how deep the rabbit hole went. Turns out, it went deeper than I thought. The house was on its third mortgage refinance. They'd drained equity more than once. The car wasn't fully paid off. There were at least 2 credit cards in collections. And worst of all, they'd opened a joint card in my name 6 years ago. I felt my stomach drop when I saw it. I had no idea. I'd always had good credit, so I never really checked obsessively. But somehow, somewhere along the line, they'd forged my information. Probably with my old social from a college FAFSA form or tax return. The balance wasn't massive, under $4,000, but it was the principle. They hadn't just used me. They'd stolen from me. I could have gone nuclear right then, but I didn't. I filed a fraud claim, froze my credit, documented everything, because I wasn't ready for revenge yet. First, I had to let them dig the hole deeper. So I replied to the letter. Polite, reserved, but strategic. Thanks for the update. Sorry to hear about the medical stuff. I hope you're okay. Things have been tight on my end too, but I might be able to help. Just need some details first. Can you send me a breakdown of the bills you mentioned? Exact amounts, due dates, and provider info? Also, I'm working with a financial advisor now, so any help I give has to go through documentation. Hope you understand. It was bait, and they took it. Within 24 hours, my mom sent a long email listing 5 separate urgent bills. Medical copays, utility back pay, even car registration fees. Most of it looked thrown together, with fuzzy math and no proof. I asked again, this time firmly, for itemized statements. She sent blurry photos of envelopes and hand-scribbled notes with amounts circled in red pen. None of it looked real. One was even a screenshot, of a payment portal that clearly still had my dad's email visible in the top corner, with the date edited using a phone markup tool. They were trying to scam me again. After everything, that's when the anger came back. But this time, I didn't bury it. I channeled it. I needed them to feel safe, comfortable, entitled again, just long enough for the hammer to fall. I emailed back 2 days later. Okay, let me talk to my advisor and see what we can do. I might be able to front some of this, but I'll need to write it up as a formal loan agreement. No interest, just documentation. Legal formality. Hope that's okay. My mom replied within 7 minutes. Of course, sweetheart. We trust you completely. Anything you need us to sign is fine. We're just so grateful. I created a fake loan contract template. Nothing binding, just something to make it feel real. I even sent it to them for review. They signed it, returned it. I hadn't sent a cent. Megan and I were tracking everything now. Dates, emails, texts. She even offered to pose as a potential investor in their home remodeling business, which I had no idea existed until my dad casually mentioned it in one of his emails. Apparently, they'd been exploring opportunities and pitching friends on a venture to flip homes. They'd even used my name, in conversations with others. Claimed I was backing them. That was the final straw. It wasn't enough that they lied, stole, and guilted me. Now they were using my identity to build their delusions. And it gave me the perfect setup. Because if they wanted to claim me as an investor, fine. Let's make it official. The next step was Tyler. I hadn't spoken to him since the dinner. He hadn't reached out either. But I knew from Megan, and from social media, that he was still tight with our parents. Still dropping by. Still soaking in whatever benefits he could without getting his hands dirty. So I baited him too. Sent a simple message. Hey, just wanted to check in. Mom and Dad mentioned you might be helping them with that real estate idea. I've got some contacts in the city who might be interested. Let me know if you want to meet. He replied an hour later. Oh yeah, it's still in early stages. Nothing serious yet. But if you've got people who might fund it, that could help them a lot. They're kind of depending on you again, TBH. Depending on me. Like I was a resource, not a person. Perfect. I looped Megan in. We created a fake email address using a generic name, Sarah C. Holdings. I drafted a message pitching interest in investing in small family-owned real estate ventures, especially ones with existing capital partners. I CC'd Tyler and copied a few vague, professional-sounding phrases I'd seen in pitch decks over the years. They replied within a day. My parents. With an entire pitch document attached, complete with my name in the previous funding support section. I stared at that PDF for a long time. They'd used me as collateral. They were trying to build a lie on the back of a lie. Using me. And now, I had everything I needed. Proof of fraud. Identity theft. Lies in writing. A paper trail connecting every desperate plea to every manipulative tactic. But the best part? They had no idea what was coming. I wasn't going to just expose them. I was going to let them expose themselves. And then, when the time was right, I'd pull the curtain. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't fire and fury. It's truth. Cold. Undeniable. Inescapable. But first, I had to wait. Just a little longer. I waited exactly 32 days. Long enough for the documents to pile up. Long enough for my parents to sink deeper into their fantasy. Long enough for them to get comfortable, tossing around my name like a business asset, pitching their imaginary remodeling company to neighbors, friends, even a retired couple Megan found through a Facebook group, posing as another investor contact. They were careless, bold, even proud. My mom forwarded me an email chain with the subject line, pitch follow-up, potential $50,000 backer. I wasn't copied on the thread, but they name-dropped me 5 times. Said I was handling the numbers. Said I was our primary angel investor. Said I'd approved the direction of the project. I hadn't responded in weeks. I let them think I was just working on logistics. That I was the same old Matthew, slow to reply, too nice to push back, too passive to question. They still thought I was theirs. But they had no idea what I'd built. Step 1. The letter. I hired a lawyer, not for lawsuits, yet, but for language. I wanted every word to land with weight. We drafted a single-page letter. No accusations. No rage. Just facts. Dear Mom and Dad, after reviewing your recent correspondence, I feel it's necessary to clarify that I am not, nor have I ever been, an investor, representative, or financial partner in your remodeling business or any related ventures. Any use of my name, credentials, or financial contributions in these contexts is unauthorized and must cease immediately. Furthermore, recent discoveries regarding a fraudulent credit account opened in my name have prompted me to take formal legal action, including credit repair measures and fraud documentation filings. These records may include any relevant family members who had access to my personal information. I strongly encourage you to cease all misrepresentation involving my name, to inform all parties you've contacted of the correction, and to expect no further financial assistance. This is not a negotiation. Matthew. I printed it on thick paper, mailed it certified. The tracking confirmation hit their inbox on a Thursday morning. By Friday, my phone had 12 missed calls. I didn't answer. They tried email next. Matthew, please call us. This is a huge misunderstanding. Then, we're hurt and confused. Why are you turning on your own parents? Then finally, if you're going to make legal threats, maybe we should tell our side of the story. I ignored them all, because by then, I was already on step 2, the firebreak. I emailed every potential investor I could find, every neighbor, every contact they looped into their scheme, every name they'd copied on pitches and messages. I kept it simple and factual. Hi, just to clarify, I am not affiliated with the business proposal circulated by my parents' names. Any mention of me as a financial backer or partner is incorrect and unauthorized. I've taken legal steps to separate myself from these communications. Thank you for understanding. I signed it with my full name. Linked my portfolio website. Kept it professional. Responses poured in. Some thanked me. Some apologized. One retired man, Roger, called me to say he'd been considering a $20,000 investment but had a weird gut feeling. When he heard from me, he canceled immediately. They're not just irresponsible, he said. They're dangerous. But I wasn't done. Step 3, the audit. Megan, clever, no-nonsense Megan, reached out to the county tax office. Through a quiet contact, she got a full history of my parents' property. Tax records, liens, missed payments. She passed it all to me. I sent a single envelope to my parents. No note, just the printout, paper-clipped to a bright orange post-it that said, "Since you keep saying the house is stable, thought you should see the numbers." Later that week, Megan called to say she drove by the house. The car was gone. The porch lights were off. For sale sign in the yard. They're scrambling, she said. Good. But my favorite part? Step 4, the account. Remember the joint credit card they opened in my name? I filed fraud charges. Submitted the letter from my lawyer. Attached every shred of evidence. The forged form, my parents' email from years ago mentioning the card, screenshots of payments they'd made while using my credentials. It wasn't hard. They weren't subtle. And because the card was opened under false pretenses, the bank closed it. Removed the balance from my credit. Flagged my parents. The fraud report triggered a review of their remaining credit accounts. Suddenly, the web started unraveling. Because my parents didn't just rely on me. They'd done this before. A friend here. A cousin there. Even a co-worker of my dad's from years back, whose identity had been used to apply for a Home Depot card. It all came tumbling out. I didn't report any of the rest. I didn't need to. The system was already awake. Step 5, the reveal. And then came the moment I'd been waiting for. I hosted a small dinner at my apartment. Just me, Megan, and a few friends who had stuck by me through the months of silence. We cooked. We laughed. We toasted to freedom. And for dessert, I handed Megan a manila folder. Inside, everything. The letter, the fake investor email chains, screenshots of messages, printouts of the joint card fraud, the fake contracts, the pitches with my name forged in bold. She leafed through it in silence. Then she looked up, smiled, and said, "You're not just a writer, Matt. You're a tactician." I smiled back, but I wasn't smiling because I'd won. I was smiling because I was done. Done pretending. Done helping people who saw me as a tool. Done explaining my worth to people who only saw dollar signs when they looked at me. Fallout came fast. The house sold at a loss. They moved into a cramped rental on the other side of town. Word got around. A neighbor from the old block reached out and said, "I heard about the fallout. Sounds like you did the right thing." Apparently, Mrs. Caldwell, sweet, observant Mrs. Caldwell, had told the neighborhood everything after I'd quietly sent her the facts. Even Tyler tried to message me. "Bro, you went too far. You didn't have to humiliate them." I left him on read. I don't think they ever expected me to fight back. Because when you're the good kid, people assume you'll always stay quiet. They think silence means weakness. But silence is just the sound before the bell rings. And when it rang, they finally heard me. Loud, clear, unforgiving. Now, I sleep better, write more. I'm working on a collection of stories, actually. The title? Family Loans and Other Fictions. Poetic, right? They still try, occasionally. A card on my birthday. An email around the holidays. A voicemail from my mom saying, "We just miss how things used to be." But things never were how they pretended. And now they never will be. I didn't burn the bridge. They built it with straw and gasoline. All I did was stop carrying the water. They lit the match. I walked away. And as the flames rose behind me, I smiled for the first time in a long time. Because I wasn't their rock anymore. I was the fire they never saw coming.